In this video presentation, I shall discuss about very short question answer, that is 2 or 3 marks question answer from a prose piece. The name of the prose piece is the Browning version and the writer of the prose piece is Terence Rattigan. Now my dear students, I welcome you all to my educational channel. The name of my educational channel is Priyankar Dotto. Here you can find video presentations on English language and literature of school level, college level as well as of competitive examinations. Now, before going to the main focus of this video presentation, I want to make an important declaration. The declaration is that you can make any demand for a video presentation of your liking, and for doing so you will have to WhatsApp me in my number. The number is 9434581673. You can also send me a message through Telegram in the same number, or you can send me an email in my mail ID. My mail ID is priyankar.english@gmail.com. And you must keep in mind that we have recently introduced ebook service, and for purchasing ebook you may WhatsApp me in the number given here, or you may send me message through Telegram, or you may contact with me in my mail ID as well. Now we shall start with the question answer session from the Browning version by Terence Rattigan. The first question is, how did Taplow introduce himself to Frank? The answer to the question is, Taplow introduced himself to Frank as a student of the lower fifth, and that he would get the opportunity to pursue the science stream in the next term. He knew that to pursue the science stream he would have to be promoted with a good academic performance. The second question is, what contrasted ideas about telling the results were put forward by Taplow and Frank? The answer to the question is, according to Taplow, all the teachers except Mr. Crocker Harris announced the results before the official announcement was made. Frank put forward the view that the results would be announced only officially, and that too on the last day of the term by the headmaster. The third question is, how did Taplow and Frank differ on the matter of paying heed to the principle that the results should be announced only on the last day of the term, and that too by the headmaster? The answer to the question is, according to Taplow, none except Mr. Crocker Harris paid heed to the principle, and that the results should be announced only on the last day of the term, and that too by the headmaster. However, Frank did not accept it because he was a teacher and adhered to the said principle. The fourth question is, which stream did Taplow want to pursue and why? The answer to the question is, Taplow wanted to pursue the science stream. For the answer of the second part of the question, you may write in this way: he wanted to do so not because his result in the term would enable him to do so, but because he was genuinely interested in science, as he confessed to Frank. After all, he found science to be more exciting than literature. The fifth question is, why did Taplow look upon Aeschylus's the Agamemnon to be a mark? The answer to the question is, the word mark means rubbish. Taplow looked upon Aeschylus's the Agamemnon to be so because in it a lot of Greek words had been strung together, and if one failed to understand the meaning of any of these words, one would be unable to grasp the meaning of 50 lines. The next question is, what was Taplow's overall view of Aeschylus's the Agamemnon? The answer to the question is, according to Taplow, Aeschylus's the Agamemnon had a good plot with a wife murdering her husband and so on. However, he did not support the use of numerous Greek words because if one failed to grasp the meaning of any of these words, one would lose control over its meaning. The seventh question is, why did Taplow come to meet Mr. Crocker Harris? The answer to the question is, Taplow had missed a day because he had been ill, so he had taken extra work from his teacher, Mr. Crocker Harris. He had come to meet his teacher after solving it. Taplow was a sincere student and he did not want any deficiency in his learning. The eighth question is, what did Mr. Crocker Harris say to Taplow when the latter asked him if he had given Taplow a remove? The answer to the question is, when Taplow asked Mr. Crocker Harris if he had given Taplow a remove, the former replied that he had given Taplow what he deserved, not less and certainly not more. Mr. Crocker Harris would not break the rules and regulations of the school administration at any cost. The ninth question is, how did Taplow go too far in his criticism of Mr. Crocker Harris? The answer to the question is, Taplow asked Mr. Crocker Harris if he had given Taplow a remove or not. Mr. Crocker Harris evaded the question. Taplow misunderstood his teacher and said that the teacher had underestimated his potential because of asking for extra work to compensate for his absence. Surely enough, Taplow went too far here. The 10th question is, what did Taplow think about going out without taking the permission of Mr. Crocker Harris? The answer to the question is, Taplow thought that as long as Mr. Crocker Harris was present, nobody dared to go out without taking his permission. He added that it was difficult to guess what would happen if he had left the place without Mr. Crocker Harris's permission. He guessed that Mr. Crocker Harris might follow him to his house. The 11th question is, what did Frank say about his opinion of the impact of Mr. Crocker Harris on the students? The answer to the question is, according to Frank, Mr. Crocker Harris had a great influence on the students. He added that the students were scared of Mr. Crocker Harris, perhaps because the latter punished them. However, Taplow informed Frank that Mr. Crocker Harris did not punish them to derive sadistic pleasure. The 12th question is, how did Taplow differentiate one or two masters who were sadists and Frank? The answer to the question is, according to Taplow, one or two masters were sadists and that their sadism was evident to the students. Taplow did not want to mention their names. Differentiating Frank from these teachers, Taplow said that Frank behaved logically with the students, hence the question of sadism did not arise with Frank. The 13th question is, why did Frank say, "Good Lord, what are our school coming to?" The answer to the question is, Frank came to know from Taplow that students looked upon one or two teachers as sadists. The students, however, did not put Frank in this category. This kind of complex thinking in the students made Frank say, "Good Lord, what are our schools coming to?" The 14th question is, what was Taplow's view about the personality of Mr. Crocker Harris? The answer to the question is, according to Taplow, Mr. Crocker Harris was not a sadist. He added that Mr. Crocker Harris had no feelings at all and hence compared the personality of Mr. Crocker Harris to the shriveled up inside of an art. He added that Mr. Crocker Harris hated the fact that people liked him. The 15th question is, what did Taplow say about his attitude to Mr. Crocker Harris? The answer to the question is, according to Taplow, Mr. Crocker Harris was a person who was without any sort of feelings and that he used it for his own benefit. However, Taplow could not help liking him. Still, Taplow added that his positive attitude to Mr. Crocker Harris made the latter more devoid of feelings. The 16th question is, what happened in the matter of Mr. Crocker Harris saying one of his classical jokes? The answer to the question is, when Mr. Crocker Harris said one of his classical jokes in the form the other day, nobody including Taplow understood it. Still, while other students did not laugh, Taplow laughed because he realized that Mr. Crocker Harris meant it to be funny. Thus, the jokes did not produce the desired result. The 17th question is, how did Mr. Crocker Harris react to the reaction of the students to the jokes he made in the form? The answer to the question is, none of the students of the form except Taplow laughed at the jokes made by Mr. Crocker Harris. Mr. Crocker Harris looked upon it as an evidence of the improvement Taplow had made in Latin. So he told Taplow to explain the jokes to the class so that they could laugh too. The 18th question is, how was Millie Crocker Harris described? The answer to the question is, Millie Crocker Harris was the wife of Mr. Crocker Harris. She was described as a thin woman in her late 30s. She was more smartly dressed than most of the schoolmaster's wives, especially saying she was wearing a cape. She was seen carrying a shopping basket. The 19th question is, what was Taplow's apprehension regarding Mr. Crocker Harris's hearing him copying her husband to Frank? The answer to the question is, Frank thought that Mrs. Crocker Harris had heard Taplow copying her husband to Frank. He apprehended that in such a case she would inform the matter to her husband and he would take revenge on him by not promoting him to the next form. The 20th question from this prose piece is, what did Mrs. Crocker Harris say when she came to know that Taplow was waiting for her husband? The answer to the question is, When Mrs. Crocker Harris came to know that Taplow was waiting for her husband, she informed Taplow that he might return after a long time. She added that if she had been in his place, she would have run away. Then she suggested that Taplow might come back after 15 minutes. The 21st question is, what did Mrs. Crocker Harris suggest to Taplow to make him avoid waiting for her husband? The answer to the question is, to make Taplow avoid waiting for her husband, Mrs. Crocker Harris suggested to him to come back after a quarter of an hour. She agreed to take the blame if her husband came back earlier. Later, she suggested taking her prescription and bringing the medicines to avoid the question of delay. This was all about the 2 or 3 marks question answer from the prose piece entitled The Browning Version, written by Terence Rattigan. Now, before concluding this video presentation, I request you to subscribe my channel, to share my video presentations to your friends so that they can also be benefited from my video presentations. And I also request you to put forward your opinion regarding the video presentations in the concerned comment section of the video presentations. Thank you.